And welcome everybody to our in-depth space weather video, fields and features, sunspots, coronal holes, and more. We've got a fairly homogeneous high-pressure environment following the subsiding of a major coronal mass ejection strike. It went on for quite a long time, but now it's largely completed. That's the last 4 hours of magnetohydrodynamic pressure, modeled in nanopascals. We've got this homogeneous environment as Earth reaches an equilibrative state. The planet's trying to reach static equilibrium following a large infusion of solar plasma. So here is the ground magnetic perturbation map. It's great at showing where aurorae are most likely, and we'll have insane imagery of aurora. Make sure you check out our Twitter page. More on that in a moment. That's the last 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. And you can see the magnetic signature of this coronal mass ejection strike has largely subsided. But that's a great picture there of what was going on yesterday with the GOES magnetometers, as clouds of coronal mass ejection plasma have their own magnetic fields. There's the GOES 16 and 17 measuring them from their geosynchronous orbits. Now we've been putting up live videos on twitch.tv/smashomash, so if you've become accustomed to us putting up more than one video on YouTube per day, it's because of a lot of different things. But in any case, you can find those additional videos at twitch.tv/smashomash. I'll bet you're able to visit a website if you're able to watch these videos. So Twitch is the best live streaming platform. And make sure you check us out on Twitter as well. If you don't have a Twitter account, go set up a Twitter account. Your ability to connect with like-minded individuals, or even unlike-minded individuals, is quite vast, and we do not plan to get banned from Twitter. Press like and subscribe if you enjoy the content on YouTube. Help us out by pressing share. Tell your friends and foes about us. We're not so sure the algorithms are doing so. We've got some complaints about people not being notified about our live streams and so on. So subscribe, become a member of the Smash team, support us that way. Or perhaps pick up some merch. Links below the video to lots of places besides here to see additional content. Next, we're looking at the heliospheric current sheet. Earth is currently in a South Pole one, shown here in red. Here's the North Pole current sheet headed our way. No big deal there. Let us know in the comments if you think we'll be in a North Pole current sheet by tomorrow. Here's a line of sight view. And we could indeed be in a North Pole current sheet by tomorrow. That's my guess. Again, let us know in the comments what you think. Look at that vertical line there. Next, we'll look at coronal holes. So here's the coronal hole magnetic field plot. We've got some North Pole coronal holes rotating in over here. Those blue lines are the sun's B field. We showed you the Earth's B field. Now we're showing you the sun's. The B field is the field that goes through the magnet. And we've seen some migration of plasma down here by the South Solar Polar Field region. This will provide a great view of that. Let me just refresh. And here's the way the SDO browse data works. You just pick your dates. In this case, the 13th and 14th. We usually speed it up a little bit to make the videos compact, and I would draw your attention to this area down here. We see some plasma reorganization happening there, a small coronal hole opening up and moving toward the polar region. And you can also see some evidence of the South Solar Polar Field migrating toward the north as the solar cycle 25 solar polar field reversal process occurs. That's in many ways what a solar cycle is. It's not just a sunspot cycle. It's also the reversing of the solar polar fields. So some fairly well-defined coronal holes up here. These are actually South Pole oriented. And what you're watching there is the solar polar field reversal. Next, going to sunspots. We have seen some evolution here of sunspot 2965. We'll show some additional imagery of that next. Likelihood of large flares remains, and we did see an M-class flare from this. We'll get to that in a moment. So here's a solar intensity gram. This is for the 13th and 14th. And again, we see some field evolution happening up here. So some additional umbrae growing and then evaporating here north of sunspot 2965's trailing umbra. Otherwise, spots have remained stable. Solar activity has actually decreased a little bit in the past 24 hours. And we did see this M-class flare. The peak flux of that flare was around 8:40 Universal Time this morning. So another M-class flare happening there. It was an M2.01. M2.04. Make that an M3.2. An M3.2, let's just say. Nope. An M2. It's an M2 flare. We'll just say it's an M2 flare. That should be, yeah, we'll just stick with that. No spikes in the proton flux. And make sure you check out our bonus features segment. We'll talk about cosmic ray flux. Next, moving to the real-time solar wind to see the fields return to a more normal state here. So still very strong fields, but they are all northward oriented. So that does not induce a lot of current on planet Earth. And so we've seen the geomagnetic storm conditions subside here. Current conditions in terms of density and speed are solar wind density of about 9.1 protons per cubic centimeter, solar wind speed 420. And you can also see the plasma temperature dropping off here. Perhaps some errors happening there. We do see some error bars lit up there at the bottom. But that certainly looks like the subsiding of the coronal mass ejection. There's your geomagnetic storm. Lasted about 15 hours, a little longer than we expected. We forecasted about 12 hours of it. Not too bad, not too shabby. And of course, it's related to how long the coronal mass ejection itself lasts and how big it is and so forth. If you enjoy the content, make sure you press like and subscribe. Tell your friends and foes about us. Consider becoming a member of the Smash Team. It's like Patreon, only better. Smashomash.com/Smash Team. Fund us that way. Links below the video as well as on our homepage at Smashomash.com. Thanks to everybody who visits our websites and the rest of our social media accounts. Cheers. We appreciate that. Here comes a solar system forecast. Heavenly bodies are now here. Let's advance this 1 week. Here's where things will be in a week. Mercury is about to swing around the backside of the sun. And in 1 week, we'll have a crescent waning moon. We also like to show a star chart to keep our viewers oriented to their astrography. Here's what's going on above my head. If you've got a low horizon and you're up before dawn, you may see Venus and Mars on the horizon. Also Jupiter rising ahead of the sun. Saturn up there near the ecliptic as well. The yellow line there is the ecliptic. That's the path the sun will take across the sky. The blue line is the galactic plane. Last but not least, we'll look at two coronagraphs to show no significant coronal mass ejections associated with that M-class flare, at least not yet visible. The view from Lagrange point 5 on the left, the view from Lagrange point 1 on the right. That's the Soho-Lasco C3. Stereo A Core 2 coronagraph here. Space weather beacon on the left. And there's Jupiter showing up in the Lasco C3. So some minor ejecta here. Nothing major. If we do see a more significant coronal mass ejection signature showing up, we will let you know. Thanks for tuning in. Congratulations on realizing the channel exists. May that solar wind be at your back, and I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smashomash, signing off from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news.